Today, I'm talking about 3 things you need to know if you're becoming Anglican. Welcome back to the Evangelical Anglican. A lot of people that you see online or around are interested in the Anglican tradition or flat out joining.
Welcome to the party, pal!
A lot of times when they're joining, they're coming from another tradition and they're excited about joining an Anglican tradition. I want to offer 3 pieces of advice
3 Gläser.
for new, should we say, converts, new people, new members, new fellow combatants to the Anglican tradition. I'm doing a quick video tonight and I lost my I lost my iPhone holder. So if this thing falls over in the middle of this, I'll edit it out. Now, first thing
Rule number 1.
that you need to know if you're becoming an Anglican is to have a sense of humility. I don't mean that in like a I'm mad at you way, but just understand that you're kind of walking into the middle of a conversation. And what I mean by that is everything you really don't know the lay of the land. And what I want to say as an evangelical Anglican is most of the things that you have been sold are as Anglicanism are pretty new as far as Anglicanism goes. And they're part of a longer conversation and a longer story. And this conversation, Anglicanism has always been a form of religion that brought together groups of people that did not agree with each other. And therefore, Anglicanism has always had a strong sense of parties.
Hello, I'm Rico, and I like to party.
Yeah, Rico, what did I just say to Dave?
Who?
Dave!
I like to party. I'm Rod.
No, you're Kevin.
Not like fun parties, but like, factions and parties. And in some ways, I think Anglicanism is the strongest when it actually has like a really strong party system, because what that means is that we all actually believe that Anglicanism is a thing and it's a thing that we're contending for. And so as you enter into Anglicanism, there is a sense in which you need to prepare yourself for the fact that there is no monolithic Anglicanism. One of the memes that I use the most when people announce that they're becoming Anglican is the Civil War meme, where he says, what kind of American are you?
Okay. What kind of American are you?
It's the idea that sure, okay, you became Anglican, but what kind of Anglican? And you need to know that these conversations have been going on already. And before you start to wax eloquently about the glories of Anglicanism and all the things that you enjoy, maybe get a lay of the land first. The second thing I would say, and is linked to the first, is that when you're looking at picking your faction, it's almost like a role-playing game. When you're looking at picking which side you're going to be on, pick based on your theology, not your aesthetics. A lot of times people come into Anglicanism and they are Protestant, kind of maybe even Reformed in their theology, but they've got this little thing, and it's this little thirst for something cool and something sexy and something, candles and smoke and, a gong, even like whatever they want something more tactile and something cooler. We talk about that a lot in this channel. And so then they start to join in with kind of high church people. And I'm only picking these options because it seems to only work this way. You start to join in with kind of Anglo-Catholics. And what people always think is like my aesthetics can be one thing and my theology can remain Protestant. And look, let me just tell you, time and time again, these things don't work. They don't coincide. Like one is going to give way to the other, and most likely it's going to be your theology giving way to your aesthetics, just so you know. My advice is, if you have reformational theology, maybe, just maybe, pick the reformational camp. They might not like the aesthetics that you like. You might think that they're overdoing it. But going back to the first point, maybe this conversation's been going on longer than you think. Maybe there's reasons why, as these things were added into Anglicanism or, held on in cathedrals and vestiges, and they never quite were able to get rid of them, even though they got rid of them everywhere else. Like the Anglo-Catholics actually get this. Like they're not going to go to an evangelical parish. And it's not just because the aesthetics, it's because of theology. evangelicals, reformational kind of thinkers, like they're almost never going to go all the way on things that Anglo-Catholics believe. And so they're usually going to stick where it's kind of cohesive, where your aesthetics and your theology match. That's actually a good place to be. Again, going back to the first thing, I don't have a problem that they're Anglo-Catholics. I'm not one. I have friends that are Anglo-Catholics. I think the diocese is better off when there is some Anglo-Catholics. It just adds a certain flair. It adds a certain je ne sais quoi. It adds a certain what's the buzzword that everyone cares about these days? Diversity. You know, it's a diverse thing. But it seems to be that only evangelicals do this, where they think I'll hold on to my reformed evangelical theology on the one hand, and on the other hand, I'd like to play with some fire, some strange fire, going back to Leviticus, and they died.
Number 3.
Point 3. Avoid viewing Anglicanism as a museum piece. It's never going to be the 16th century again. It's never going to be the 17th century again. The 1662 prayer book, i.e., International Edition, has never been an American prayer book. There is no point in the American story that has been our prayer book. You might wish it could be. In some ways, I wish it could be. But try to avoid kind of trying to recreate something that you think existed. It really never did. I've had to learn this. I kind of went in with this Reformation Anglicanism thing, where I wanted to recreate something, and I realized it never really existed. Believe it or not, Anglicans preaching through the Book of Homilies and doing the 39 Articles, it wasn't like people were flocking to their churches. It didn't. The reason why the Anglo-Catholics kind of took root is because Protestant wing of the church kind of sucked. So what I mean by this is we live in the 21st century. Whatever camp you're in, that your goal is not to recreate something. You can't one-to-one take something. I mean, England, the way they do Anglicanism is so different than how the Episcopal Church or the Anglican Church of North America has to do They're a national church. They're an established church. They have certain ways that they relate to the community that we don't. I heard an Anglican priest recently say in America that everyone in his neighborhood is part of his parish. And it's not true. Avoid kind of trying to recreate a museum piece. Instead, focus on your actual parish. What are the needs of your actual parish where you're ministering? Fourth, I said 3, but I added another. Understand as you go in, there are major differences between Anglicanism and whatever tradition that you're from. One of those differences is the reality that there is a bishop, and if you're ordained, you are kind of swearing your obedience to him or her, depending on, well, never mind. And part of that, and you got to kind of take that seriously. Now, you don't want to go so far as to think well, the bishop can do no wrong. Trust me, they can. But there is a different approach to authority. And on the other hand, I would also add, understand that in some ways, Anglicanism is not different from any of your tradition that you came from. I've seen some people come over to Anglicanism thinking that they could get away from church growth dynamics. This whole pressure in other churches where it's like, oh man, every year it's about the budget, it's about growth, and it's about driving growth. And then they're like, Anglicanism will be totally different. It's not. You have to grow your church. That is you have to grow your church, dude. You still need a paycheck, and the power company doesn't go to Anglican churches and go, you know what? Because you're Anglican, we won't charge you. All of the same realities as far as congregational development, church growth, they're still there. In fact, in some ways, it can be harder. Now, in some ways, we're built to run smaller, and so we could have a conversation about that. But in the end, we're glad that you're here. Welcome to the party. I'm glad that you've become an Anglican. Take your time. Pick your camp wisely. Subscribe to this channel to find out more information about a long time group that maybe, in my opinion, especially in the Episcopal Church, have seen better days, and that is the evangelical wing of the Anglican Church. We have a particular way of doing things. If anything, I believe that dioceses should have an Anglo-Catholic parish, but they should also have a vibrant evangelical parish, or maybe, 80 vibrant evangelical parishes to every one Anglo-Catholic parish. But in order for evangelicals to thrive as evangelical Anglicans, we're going to have to actually be evangelicals, which means that we're not going to do every single thing that broad church 1979 post liturgical movement Anglicans believe in doing. There were reasons why evangelicals were uncomfortable with a lot of the things that get passed for normal Anglicanism now. And so my advice is to start reading, start investigating. Some of the very things that drew you to Anglicanism are going to be the things that you are going to jettison. That's what happened to me. The things that made me Anglican are not the things that have kept me in the end. I'm glad that you're here, and I think that the fraternal fighting that Anglicans do is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to argue with people that you love, that you are in the same diocese with, that you join hand in hand with, even if you disagree with them, to treat them as brothers and sisters in Christ, even where you strongly disagree. It's a great picture of what the church could and should look like. Anglicanism is far from a perfect tradition. It's far from a monolithic tradition. But I hope that it becomes your tradition. And I hope that you join in with us, whether you agree with me or not.